What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here with some brand spankin' new Destiny 2 news. Now that's because the Bungie Weekly update has just been released, detailing a bunch of new official information. And so, let's go over it. Most of this information has to do with changes that Bungie has seen regarding feedback from the beta. Like, a lot of people have been talking about what they like, what they don't like, how they felt about PvP and PvE in the beta, and Bungie has already, in this weekly update, outlined several changes that are going to be in the full game's release when compared to the Destiny 2 beta. And so, let's get started with that for PvE. This is a big issue. There's been like several top voted posts on Reddit just from people saying that they feel like PvE may have been sacrificed for the sake of PvP. That PvE doesn't feel the same, that you feel somewhat outmatched and not as powerful in PvE when compared to Destiny 1's PvE certainly, and again that these changes are made for the sake of PvP. Well, Bungie responded, which is great. You always want the developers to be having a constant dialogue and conversation with the community. Firstly, power ammo. A lot of people have felt that power ammo changes and the fact that you now have snipers and shotguns in the power weapons position means that you simply don't get to use those weapons as much as you would like. Heck, you can go pretty much an entire Destiny 2 beta strike of the inverted spire and get, what, 3 magazines of sniper throughout the entire encounter? That's a little bit too little. And I think a lot of you guys watching would agree with that, would say that power ammo needs to be more abundant in PvE. Well, good news. Not only has Bungie acknowledged this complaint, but they've outright said that they've improved things for the full game. Quoting the beta design lead, Rob Engeln, the PvE game tuning has changed pretty significantly since the beta build was deployed. The nature of a beta of this scale requires that it's based off a build of the game that is now months old. So, in many cases, your feedback has helped us validate changes that were previously made based on internal feedback and playtesting. For example, we too felt that ammo, especially power ammo, was too scarce in PvE. In addition to retuning the drop rates, we built a system that guarantees power ammo drops for you and your fire team from certain enemies, giving power weapons a more reliable and predictable role in your arsenal. So that is some great news, and hopefully that will calm the flames of outrage a little bit. Because again, I've seen so many people complaining about power ammo, and if for good reason. I would also agree that power ammo was way too scarce in PvE. But this quote outright says that Bungie has improved it, both increasing the drop rates and I really like the second part, guaranteeing power ammo drops from certain enemies. So if you overcome maybe a yellow health Minotaur like a Storm Minotaur, that enemy will absolutely drop power ammo for you and your fire team so that you can go into the next section locked and loaded. I think that is a really sweet change, whereas, you know, in Destiny 1 right now, that is all RNG. There is nothing guaranteed about it. Now moving on from there, another big complaint that I've seen from many players is that in PvE, your abilities just don't charge fast enough and aren't potent enough. For example, grenades. Yes, it's great when you're playing PvP and there isn't ability spam all over the place, but in PvE, when doing strikes and missions and the raid, you'd want your grenades to be there more often, and when you throw your grenade, you'd want it to actually be able to kill some enemies. This is the exact same for your super. A lot of players have stated that it's pretty depressing how little you get your super in PvE. You play an entire strike and get it maybe once or twice. And again, this has been a huge point of contention. Bungie also addressed this issue with Rob continuing to say, quote, "Other areas where we've made significant tuning changes include grenade effectiveness in PvE, boss vitality, and weapon damage against non-player combatants. So there's grenades covered right there. They've said that they've significantly tuned grenade effectiveness, so hopefully that's done with. I haven't said anything about supers just yet, but that's another thing. I hope your super recharges more often and you get to use it more frequently when the full game comes out. But this is all great news, guys. Like, this is all what we should be hoping to hear from the developers, is that we complain about stuff and then they come out right in the middle of the beta and say, yup, we hear you, these are the changes that we're planning to make. So this is all going pretty much exactly how you'd want it to go. Now that's what Bungie talked about in terms of PvE, but now let's move on to what they talked about for PvP. Mainly, they really discussed how matchmaking works in the beta, which they confirmed will be exactly how it works in the full Destiny 2 release. Now, there has been a big kerfuffle within the Destiny community about skill-based matchmaking. A lot of players very instantly recognized that skill-based matchmaking really seemed to be in place for the Destiny 2 beta, and it was in place for quick play and competitive play. And a lot of players really didn't like this. Skill-based matchmaking, although developers always seem to implement it, the communities usually don't want it that much. You'd much prefer your connection, and having a good connection is valued above anything else. And usually when skill-based matchmaking is introduced, it sacrifices how good your connection is. Destiny had a few months where skill-based matchmaking was really ramped up, and it was some of the worst months ever for PvP. It got a lot of players to quit the game outright. It was really, really bad. So Bungie's kind of walking a tightrope when it comes to reintroducing skill-based matchmaking. In any event, Crucible design lead Lars Bakken said that there's two main goals within the Crucible for Destiny 2. Number one, provide a great experience for players who enjoy competitive PvP activities. And number two, ensure that players who enjoy PvP have a fair and fun match. He also goes on to say, quote, Destiny 2 Crucible matchmaking places a greater emphasis on connection quality, but make no mistake, skill is still a big component in finding worthy opponents for you to fight. When all these systems are singing in unison, it should help us reach our ultimate goal, to give all players, regardless of their skill, the best possible experience. While the new quick play and competitive modes are designed to serve different moods, they are using the same matchmaking settings in the beta. We'll be able to tune these separately post-beta, and your playtesting will help us going forward. For those of you who are wondering, we bucket you separately depending on the playlist, so your quick play skill is tracked separately from your competitive skill. So there is a couple of takeaways from that. Firstly, the really good news is that quick play and competitive can be separated in terms of their matchmaking prerogatives. So in quick play, they can tune down the skill gap and tune down how much skill-based matchmaking is being used, and then in competitive, rank it up. Which I think most players, most of you guys watching would agree that's the best way to do it. Right now, in the beta, they're completely equal. So you in competitive and you in quick play are going to be matching against equally sweaty opponents most of the time. And the second takeaway is, no matter how much players complain, it looks like skill-based matchmaking is here and it's here to stay. Now, I must admit, I don't mind a little bit of skill-based matchmaking, because you can't just have a dominant team crushing noobs every single time. Dominant players would love that. It gets great gameplay for a lot of people who have channels and Twitch streams, and they just want to be on top. But it's totally unfair to the new players who just started Destiny, have never played a Destiny game before, and get absolutely cranked. You do want to avoid that. So a little bit of skill-based matchmaking is fine, and definitely a little bit when it comes to quick play. But again, connection should be the absolute priority. Bungie has stated that this is the case, but I don't know about you guys, but I've seen some pretty laggy players already in the Destiny 2 beta, so I hope that gets reduced in the full game. But having these two different playlists with quick play and competitive, and also separating them in terms of matchmaking, is an absolutely brilliant idea. It really makes it so that the sweaty players can play with other sweaty players, and then you can have a casual experience with other people feeling the same. Bungie just needs to capitalize on this, and again, I have no idea why the same matchmaking systems were in place for both within the beta. It seems like a huge missed opportunity. Now moving on from there, guys, a little bit of original Destiny news. We have a new Bungie bounty against Murdaro in the region of Montreal, Canada at 1 p.m. Pacific. On July 26, the console is the PlayStation 4 and the playlist is Clash. Bungie Bounty is a special event where if you match with that content creator and win, you get an exclusive emblem, and if you match against them and win, you also get that exclusive emblem. And moving on, the last thing we're going to talk about today is the farm social space. Deej says before he ends the weekly update, "It's been fun, Guardians. See you in the farm?" with a question mark. Well, yes, Deej, you will see me in the farm. Remember, the farm social space is opening up to the public for only 1 hour on Sunday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 10 a.m. Pacific. Now I'm trying to pound that home because other news outlets have gotten that wrong. Eurogamer currently has it listed as 10 p.m. That's incorrect. It's 10 a.m. according to Bungie themselves. And so guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. Now if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content, be sure to slap that subscribe button. And if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.